Your uncle's lawnmower starts on 3-year-old gas. He is not wrong. Until the day his Ford 300 sips the same fuel and turns it into lacquer in the injectors. There is a difference between still starts and won't strand you when it matters. By the time you find out which side of that line you are on foot. I'm Max. Today on Outfox Apocalypse, 5 lies preppers tell themselves about fuel storage. And number 5, the last one, costs $0 and lives in your driveway right now. I'm saving it for last. Number 1, the lawnmower test. There is a comment under almost every fuel storage video I have ever made. Someone leaves it under this one too. It goes like this. I just pulled the lawnmower out of the shed after 3 winters, and it fired up on the first pull. So all this prepper panic about gasoline going bad is nonsense. And my Ford will start too. I want to do something most channels won't do. I want to tell you that person is right. The mower really does start. Their gas really did sit for 3 years. The pull cord really did fire it up, first try. They are not lying. They are not exaggerating. They are reporting what they saw with their own eyes. And I respect that more than I respect any chemistry chart. But here is what they did not see. A small 4-stroke engine with a float bowl carburetor is one of the most forgiving combustion devices ever built. The fuel mix is fat. The compression is low, somewhere between 6 and 8 to 1. The ignition is dumb. A magneto firing a fixed advance with no computer to argue with. The carburetor does not care if your fuel is 100-octane premium or 3-year-old swamp water. As long as something flammable reaches the chamber and a spark catches it, that engine turns. When the mower starts on old gas, you are not seeing gasoline working. You are seeing a tractor-grade engine compensating for fuel that has already lost 1/3 of its energy. Now compare that to your truck. Here is the catch. If your truck is an early 1980s Ford 300 with the original carburetor, the same one your dad had, the truck is going to start on that swamp water too. Maybe rough. Maybe 1 cylinder out. But it will start. Carburetor engines forgive fuel chemistry the way a tractor forgives bad diesel. That is the small print on the lawnmower test that the skeptic is implicitly relying on. Their daily driver is probably a 30-year-old carbureted machine, and they are right about it. Most of us are not driving that truck. Most of us are driving a fuel-injected vehicle built after the late 1980s. Almost every passenger car and pickup in the last 35 years. And that engine runs on tolerances the carburetor never imagined. The injector spray pattern is calibrated in microns. The compression is 10 to 1 or higher. The fuel rail runs at 60 psi. The oxygen sensor and the computer adjust the mixture 8 times per second. If the fuel has gone sour, if the octane has dropped 2 points, if the ethanol has absorbed water, if the gum has started to varnish on the injector tips, the truck does not start with a polite cough. It cranks, it hesitates, it throws a misfire code. Then it sits. Worse. Sometimes it does start, and it idles rough, and it stalls a mile from the house in the middle of an evacuation. The mower forgives, the carbureted truck forgives, the fuel-injected truck does not. This is why every mechanic who has lived through a real fuel emergency, Katrina, Sandy, Helene, tells you the same thing. The chainsaws all started. The mowers all started. The generators with cheap Briggs and Stratton engines mostly started. The pre-1987 carbureted iron mostly started. The newer fuel-injected cars sat dead in driveways, while their owners walked to a gas station with empty plastic cans. The lawnmower test is not a test of gasoline. It is a test of how forgiving your engine is. If your daily driver is a modern fuel-injected vehicle, which is almost every passenger vehicle made in the last 35 years, your engine is the least forgiving one you own. The fact that your lawnmower starts on bad gas tells you nothing about what your truck will do. Number 2, the 6-month funeral. Let me get the chemistry out of the way fast, because you don't need a textbook. You need to understand 2 reactions. Gasoline is mostly hydrocarbons, but the refinery leaves in something called olefins because they boost octane cheap. Olefins are like teenagers. Leave them alone in a closed room and they will find something to react with. In a fuel can, they react with oxygen, even the small amount of oxygen dissolved in the fuel or trapped in the headspace. That reaction creates peroxides. Peroxides create gum. Gum coats every metal surface it touches. After about 3 months, you can see the first amber tint in clear fuel. After 6 months, the gum is thick enough to glue an injector pinel in place. The second reaction is the one that kills more fuel than gum ever did. American gasoline contains up to 10% ethanol. Ethanol is hygroscopic, a $5 word that means it pulls water out of the air. A typical 5-gallon jerry can in a humid garage absorbs measurable water through the vent in 1 to 3 months. Once the water content crosses about 0.5%, the ethanol water mixture separates from the gasoline and sinks to the bottom of the can. Now you have 2 layers. Top layer, gasoline missing its octane boost. Bottom layer, water and alcohol, sitting right where the fuel pickup is going to suck. After Hurricanes Katrina, Sandy, and Helene, the engineering postmortems on backup generator failures kept pointing at one cause the mechanics did not expect. Not engine breakdown, not flooding, stale gasoline, carburetors full of varnish, phase-separated ethanol sitting at the bottom of the bowl where the fuel pickup lives. Fuel that had been stored for 6 months in a hot garage. People had bought the generator. They had bought the fuel. They had done everything the magazines told them. And when the wind died and they pulled the cord, the carburetors were full of varnish and water, and the generators sat silent. 6 months. That is your funeral window for untreated gasoline in a plastic can in a Florida garage. In a cooler climate with metal containers and stabilizer, you can stretch it. In a hot southern climate with cheap plastic and ethanol blend, you can lose it faster. One viewer asked under the old fuel video, "What about STA Bill? My dad swore by it for 40 years. Good question. STA Bill extends fuel life up to 2 years if you add it fresh, though most preppers I know treat aggressively and rotate at 12 months anyway. With 10% ethanol mandated almost everywhere, a lot of guys have switched to PRIG, the stuff industrial fleets and marine operations use. Heavier dose, longer protection, and it can actually rejuvenate older fuel that is already starting to turn. I know one pack member running a Chevy small block on PRIG treated fuel stored 9 months in a Florida shed. Started first crank. The chemistry does not lie, but the stabilizer goes in before the funeral starts, not after. So, tell me in the comments, what is the oldest gasoline you have ever successfully started a vehicle on, and what did you treat it with? The pack learns from each other. Half of what I know about real-world fuel survival came from comments under videos like this one. Remember number 5, the rule that beats every 100-gallon stockpile. We are getting there. It is the cheapest piece of preparedness I have ever taught. But before we get to it, we need to talk about something the older preppers do not want to admit. The world has changed since they started stockpiling. Number 3, the drill. A retired diesel mechanic I trade emails with said it cleanest. The garden hose siphon, the iconic 3 in the morning move, is dead. Almost every passenger vehicle built since 2010 has an anti-rollover valve in the filler neck, a one-way flap designed to prevent fuel from spilling in a crash. That same flap blocks a siphon hose. You can shove a 1/4-inch tube down there until your arm tires. It will not reach the tank. The way modern thieves get fuel out of a parked car now is with a cordless drill and a 1/4-inch bit through the plastic tank. Fast, dirty, and noisy. That is the change pack needs to understand. Because here is what it means for your stockpile. The easiest fuel in the neighborhood is no longer the random sedan at the curb. Drilling a tank takes time and makes noise and leaves a trail. The easiest fuel is the homeowner with 20 jerry cans behind a door with a $5 deadbolt. It is the guy whose chainsaw and generator and lawnmower and 3 spare cans all live in one shed, lit up by a motion light, visible from the street. A drill is the option of last resort. Your garage door is the option of first resort. Guess which one gets hit first in week 3 of a power outage? Pack member after pack member learned the hard way during Helene and Beryl that a visible fuel stash is a target. Not might be, is. Within 48 hours of grid collapse, your neighbors know who has what. Within 72 hours, the rougher ones know who does not have a dog or a firearm. So how do you store fuel without painting a target on the garage door? 3 principles, and the third one is the one almost nobody does. First, scattered cache. Do not put all your fuel in one location. 5 cans in the garage is one robbery. 5 cans split between the garage, a friend's farm 30 miles out, the back of the truck, the trunk of the second car, and a sealed container in a discreet corner of the yard. That is 5 separate robberies. Most thieves stop at 1. Second, anonymity. Fuel cans should not be visible from the street, from the driveway, or through a window. The red plastic NATO jerry can is iconic. It is also a billboard that says, "I have valuable liquid stored here. Cover them. Stack them inside opaque storage tubs. Better yet, lock them in a tool chest." The thief is not going to spend 10 minutes opening a tool chest in your garage when the neighbor's garage might be unlocked. Third, decoys. This one I learned from a retired sheriff in the comments. He keeps 2 visible cans near his garage door, both filled with stale gasoline he would not run in anything anyway. If somebody breaks in, they grab the easy cans and run. They never get to the real stockpile in the back. He has been doing it for 30 years. He has lost the decoys twice and the actual stash 0 times. The bad guy is not the panicked driver at the curb with a hose anymore. The bad guy is the organized scavenger in week 3 who knows that 20 visible jerry cans in a garage are easier than 1 drill, bit through a parked sedan. Plan accordingly. Stop for a second. Let's review where we are. We have talked about why your lawnmower is misleading you about fuel longevity. We have talked about the 6-month funeral that kills most stockpiles. We have talked about the drill and why your visible cache is the easiest target in the neighborhood. 3 problems, each one harder to solve than the last. Now, I want to flip the whole conversation. Because the real preppers, the ones who have actually lived through prolonged emergencies, do not solve these problems by stockpiling more gasoline. They solve them by stockpiling something else entirely. Number 4, the multi-fuel bunker. Here is the secret the smart preppers figured out about 10 years ago. Gasoline is the worst fuel to store. It has the shortest shelf life. It is the most volatile. It is the most flammable. It is the most regulated. It is the most stolen, and in any long emergency, it is the first fuel to run out. So why does almost every household store mostly gasoline? Because their daily driver runs on gasoline. That is it. That is the whole reason. The fuel storage strategy follows the vehicle choice without anyone ever questioning it. Flip the question. What if you chose the vehicle that runs on the fuel that survives? If you saw the video I did a couple weeks back on the 9 vehicles veterans actually pick, the one that pushed past 48,000 views in 3 days, you already know where this goes. Almost every truck on that list was mechanical diesel. Toyota Land Cruiser HJ60, Ford F-250 with the 7.3 IDI, old Land Rover Defenders, Mercedes diesel wagons. The veterans did not pick those trucks because they were nostalgic. They picked them because diesel is the fuel that wants to survive. Number 2. Diesel, the regular truck stop stuff, has a shelf life of about a year with no additives. Add a diesel biocide and a stabilizer like PRID. Treat it annually. and you can stretch it to 3 or 4 years in a sealed steel drum kept cool and dark. Diesel does not have ethanol. Diesel does not form gum the way gasoline does. Diesel can sit through a hot summer in a metal jerry can and still light off when you crank. The veterans I covered in Vehicle 5 picked mechanical diesel for a reason, and that reason is fuel survival. But diesel is just the start, and we are one item away from number 5. Keep that in mind. Propane. The most underrated emergency fuel in America. Stored under pressure in a sealed steel cylinder, propane has effectively unlimited shelf life. The propane in a tank you bought 20 years ago is the same propane that came out of the refinery. It does not degrade. It does not water out. It does not gum. A 20-pound barbecue cylinder runs a generator, a heater, a cook stove, a hot water heater, even a refrigerator. A 100-pound tank in the backyard, plumbed to a tri-fuel generator and run intermittently. A few hours a day for the fridge and the phone charge covers a small household for 1 to 2 weeks. National Fire Protection Association Code 58, the propane code most states adopt, allows substantial outdoor propane storage on residential property. A 120-gallon above-ground tank, about 500 pounds of propane, is common and broadly legal with proper setback. Larger tanks up to 1,000 gallons sit at the right distance from the house too. Indoor storage is much more restricted. Check your local fire marshal before you stack. Codes vary by jurisdiction. Then there is waste vegetable oil. Most older diesel engines, the indirect injection, mechanical pump variety, will run on filtered used cooking oil with surprisingly little modification. Restaurants throw it out by the gallon. After a major event, that supply does not disappear. It accumulates. Agricultural and academic research has documented WVO conversion systems running farm trucks for years on essentially free fuel. It is not your primary plan. It is a fallback your gasoline truck does not have. And firewood. I am not going to spend long here, but if you live somewhere with timber and a wood stove, you have a fuel reserve that does not depend on the gas station, the propane truck, or the diesel pump. It heats. It cooks. It dries clothes. It boils water. Every cord of seasoned hardwood is roughly 20 to 30 million BTUs of stored energy that will not go stale, will not get stolen by a guy with a hose, and will not blow up if your garage catches fire. The multifuel bunker is not a place. It is a mindset. Diversify your energy the way you would diversify a retirement account. Some gasoline for the daily driver. Some diesel for the bug-out platform. Propane for the kitchen and the generator. WVO if you run a diesel and you know a restaurant owner. Wood if your climate allows. The guy with 5 fuels survives the guy with 1 fuel every time in every disaster the historical record has bothered to log. Number 5. The half-tank rule. The item I have been holding back since the first sentence. Here is the rule. From the first day of April through the last day of November, hurricane season, fire season, the busy half of the disaster calendar, no vehicle in your household ever drops below half a tank. Ever. Not for a quick errand, not for an I'll fill up tomorrow. Not for the cheap station is closer to work. Half a tank is the bottom of the gauge. Below half, you fill up that day, that hour, before you go home. That is it. That is the whole rule. Now let me tell you what that rule actually does. The average American sedan has about a 15-gallon tank. Half a tank is 7.5 gallons. The average pickup truck has between 23 and 26 gallons. Call it 25. Half is 12.5. For a household with 2 vehicles, the half-tank rule guarantees that at any moment, without warning, without preparation, you have between 15 and 25 gallons of fresh, properly stored gasoline right now. While you are watching this, 15 to 25 gallons of fresh fuel. In a tank engineered to industry standards, protected from light, protected from temperature swing, protected from oxidation by the sealed EVAP system the auto manufacturer built for emissions compliance, which as a side effect keeps your fuel fresh. And the anti-rollover valve we talked about in number 3 is on your side this time. It makes the fuel in your own tank harder for a casual thief to grab than the visible jerry can in the garage. I am not going to tell you nobody knows it is there. Your neighbor sees your car in the driveway every morning. Of course they know there is gas in the tank. The point is not invisibility. The point is friction. A jerry can lift off a garage shelf in 3 seconds. Fuel in a sealed automotive tank requires a drill or a wrench, both of which take time and make noise. Same fuel, different threat profile. And here is the part most preppers do not think about. Fuel in your tank is not just for driving. You can pull it back out if you need to fill a generator, to top off a friend's truck, to dump into a jerry can when the bug out plan changes at 3 in the morning. The way you do it is mechanical, not magic, but it is also not casual. You need to know your specific vehicle before you try this under stress. The principle is simple. The fuel pump in your tank is a 12-volt electric pump that the engine computer normally only switches on when you turn the key. To drain fuel without driving, you bypass the computer. You give the pump 12 volts directly, then you open a fuel line on the engine side and let the pump push gasoline from the tank into a clean container. On most vehicles, that means finding the fuel pump relay or the fuel pump fuse in the underhood power distribution box and jumping it. A bent paperclip across the right 2 terminals, or a short piece of wire across the fuse socket, and the pump runs continuously. With the pump now running, you disconnect the fuel line where it enters the engine, usually at the fuel rail, or one connection back at the fuel filter outlet. Hold a properly approved metal fuel container under the open line. Pump flow is roughly 25 to 40 gallons an hour. 8 gallons comes out in 10 to 15 minutes. Critical safety. This is outdoor work, never in a garage, never near a water heater, never near a running motor. Approved metal fuel container only. Plastic builds static charge that can ignite fuel vapor. A working fire extinguisher within arm's reach. And the most important piece, figure out the procedure on your specific vehicle before you ever need it. Year, make, and model. Locate the fuel pump relay or fuse in your power distribution box. Locate the fuel rail or fuel filter outlet under the hood. Watch one tutorial for your exact vehicle this weekend, in the daylight, with the owner's manual open, not at 3 in the morning under a flashlight during an evacuation. The pack member who has practiced this once on their own truck has access to 20 plus gallons of fresh fuel that the pack member with 20 stale jerry cans does not. Compare that to 15 gallons in 3 plastic jerry cans in your garage. 6-month funeral clock started the day you bought it. Visible to anyone with a window into your yard. Vulnerable to anyone with bolt cutters and a flashlight. The half-tank rule beats the stockpile. Every time. There is a comment under one of the Helene videos that I keep coming back to. Someone wrote, "I never let any vehicle in the family drop below half from April through November. Saved my brother during Helene. He had 3/4 of a tank when the lines started forming at the stations. He was out of the impact zone before most people realized the impact zone existed." That is the discipline. That is the whole skill. Free, invisible, renewable. Top off when you fill up, never below half. April through November. Set a phone reminder if you have to. Make your spouse do it. Make your teenage driver do it. Make it a household rule, not a personal habit. Most preppers spend $4,000 stockpiling 100 gallons of fuel that will rot in 18 months. The discipline that beats all of them is free, lives in your driveway, and costs you nothing but the inconvenience of not running on fumes. That is item number 5. I told you it was the most important. Here is your action plan, 30 days by weekends. I want you working by next Saturday. Weekend 1. Buy 2 bottles of fuel stabilizer, PRIG for the gasoline stash, PRID if you have any diesel. Treat what you already have. If your existing fuel is older than 6 months, treat it at the rejuvenation dose. Run it through your daily driver in the next 2 weeks and replace it fresh. Weekend 2. Audit your visible fuel storage. If anybody walking past your house can see a red jerry can, that is a problem. Move it, cover it, lock it. Decoy the entrance with 2 cans of stale fuel near the garage door and hide the real cash deeper in. Weekend 3. Buy 1 20-pound propane cylinder if you do not have one, and a tri-fuel adapter for your generator if you can swing it. About $150 to $250 total, depending on your generator model and which conversion kit fits it. That single weekend doubles your fuel diversity overnight. Weekend 4. Make the half-tank rule a household policy. Talk to everyone who drives a vehicle in your home. Set the phone reminder. Make the commitment. April 1st through November 30th, never below half. Cost $0. Effect 20 gallons of fresh hidden fuel reserve every single day for the rest of your life. 30 days, 4 weekends, under $300 total. You are now more fuel resilient than 95% of the preppers who spent $4,000 on a garage full of plastic cans. Everything in this video is for general preparedness education. Fire codes for residential fuel storage vary dramatically by state and municipality. California is not Texas, and a New Jersey suburb is not a Montana ranch. Always check your local fire marshal regulations before buying or storing quantities of any fuel. Generators run only outdoors with proper carbon monoxide detection. The CDC and NIOSH publish guidelines on that. Take them seriously. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Stay safe.